The storm was the kind that made the sky look angry, lightning cracking like broken bones, rain pounding the windshield so hard it felt personal. Ethan Carter blinked tired eyes, trying to stay awake. His old beat-up Ford rattled every time he hit a puddle, the heater wheezing like it was on life support. He had just pulled a 16-hour double shift at the freight warehouse, hauling boxes until his hands went numb. But exhaustion wasn't the problem, not really. Before we continue, please tell us, where in the world are you tunning in form? We love seeing how far our stories travel. We love you to subscribe our channel for more interesting single dad stories. The real problem sat like a brick in his chest. 14 days. That's how long until his court date. 14 days until he found out whether he'd lose everything, including his 7-year-old daughter, Lily. He gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white. He wasn't afraid of prison. He was afraid of Lily growing up without him. As he drove, his mind replayed the same nightmare. The accusation, the embarrassment, the betrayal. Ethan had managed an inventory system for a small home improvement company. Someone had siphoned off $63,000, and all the digital footprints led to him. Fake logins, altered financial spreadsheets, his name signed on files he'd never touched. Just like that, he went from being the dependable guy everyone joked could fix anything with duct tape to the guy everyone thought was a criminal. He'd tried to fight it, of course, but the owner of the company, Grant Pierce, had lawyers with shiny shoes and colder hearts. The evidence looked bad. His public defender tried, but even he said, "We need a miracle, Ethan." Miracles were in short supply lately. The rain thickened, slamming his windshield like wet gravel. He flicked on his high beams, squinting at the dark road ahead. That's when he saw it. A sleek black sedan pulled onto the shoulder, hazard lights blinking weakly like dying fireflies. A figure stood beside it, soaked, alone, head down. His foot eased off the gas. "Dude, keep driving," his brain warned. "She's rich. She's got AAA insurance, roadside rescue, heck, probably a drone that changes her tires." He almost listened. Almost. Then he saw her kick the tire, not in frustration, but in defeat. The kind of kick you do when life has already knocked you down and you're just tired of getting up. He sighed. "Dang it," he pulled over. The cold rain hit him like he owed it money. His jacket did nothing. He raised both hands as he approached, slow, careful. "Hey," he called out, trying to sound non-threatening. "You okay? Need help?" The woman turned. Even through the rain, he saw hesitation in her eyes. Fear. Of him. He kept his distance, hands visible. "It's all good. I'm not here to bother you. Just figure I can help, maybe." Her voice, when she spoke, was steady, controlled, like someone used to giving orders. "It just died. No engine light, no warning, and my phone has 0 signal." Ethan nodded. "Mind if I take a look? I'm not a mechanic, but I can usually get things running with duct tape and prayers." She hesitated, then gave a slight nod. "Please," he popped the hood. Even through the rain, his fingers knew what to look for. Loose connection, corroded clamp, problem child. He jogged back to his car, came back with his tool kit, old and rusted, but reliable, kind of like him. "You got a name?" she asked. "Ethan," he said, wiping rain from his eyes. "You," she hesitated, just a second too long. "Brooke." He finished tightening the terminal and stepped back. "Try it now." She slid behind the wheel, turned the key, and the car roared to life. Her face softened, not just with relief, but something he hadn't expected. Gratitude. "How much do I owe you?" she asked, already reaching for her purse. He shook his head. "Nah, just glad it worked. Take care, okay?" "Wait, at least let me thank you properly." He simply smiled, exhausted. "Maybe another time." He walked back to his car, but before getting in, he noticed her watching him, not suspiciously, but with curiosity, maybe even respect. Then he drove off. He had no idea how much that night would change his life. 2 weeks until judgment. A stormy night. A stranger with a nameless face. When Ethan walks into court, he won't expect to see her again, sitting behind the judge's bench. 2 weeks felt like 2 years. Ethan tried to live like things were normal, worked his shifts, packed Lily's school lunches, listened to her bedtime stories about brave unicorns and dramatic llama rescues. But at night, when the house was quiet, panic sat beside him like an uninvited guest. 14 days, 13, 11. His court-appointed attorney, Mr. Harlow, did his best, but Ethan knew he wasn't confident. The evidence looks tight, digital signatures, bank logs, you didn't do it, I believe that. But proving it, he sighed. We need luck, Ethan, a whole lot of luck. Luck wasn't exactly his thing. By the time the trial date arrived, Ethan felt hollowed out like an old barn, weathered, tired, barely holding together. Lily had drawn him a picture that morning, him, her, and a sunshine bigger than all of them. You're gonna come home, Daddy, she said confidently, forehead pressed to his. Even if the judge has a scary hammer. He chuckled despite himself. What if the judge isn't scary? Lily blinked. All judges are scary, they have hammers. You mean gavels? Magic hammers, she corrected with absolute certainty. He hugged her tight, dropped her at Mrs. Hardy's house, then drove to Hartford County Courthouse with his heart pounding like it was trying to escape. The courtroom was colder than he expected. Sterile, final, Harlow smoothed his papers nervously. Just stick to the truth, speak from your heart if they let you. Judges appreciate honesty, usually. Usually. All rise for the Honorable Judge Brooke Turner, the bailiff announced. Ethan turned, expecting some gray-haired, stern-faced figure, but instead he froze. She walked in with calm grace and quiet authority, her hair pulled back, black robes. Composed, professional, but it was her, the woman from the rain, the stranded stranger with the broken-down sedan. Brooke, his pulse skidded sideways, no way, no freaking way. It couldn't be, yet it was. She sat behind the bench, eyes calm, expression unreadable. Not a flicker of recognition. But Ethan saw it, the faintest pause before she lowered her eyes to the case file. Oh, she recognized him, she just couldn't show it. Because now she wasn't Brooke from the highway, she was Judge Turner, and she held his future in her hands. Harlow leaned in, whispering, You okay? You look like you saw a ghost. He swallowed, voice thin. Something like that. The prosecution began hammering their case. Fake emails, altered bank statements, digital timestamps matching Ethan's login credentials. Everything looked bad, really bad. The jurors glanced at Ethan like he was already guilty. Judge Turner listened intently, face still unreadable. Then she spoke. Mr. Collins, she said to the prosecutor, you've submitted photocopies. Where are the originals? This is standard procedure, the digital copies, she cut him off, calmly, firmly. This evidence is insufficient. I want full forensic analysis. Your Honor, that's unnecessary. It is very necessary, she said, not raising her voice, yet shutting down the room. We don't send a man to prison on half-trusted paperwork. Half-trusted, Ethan felt something, hope, tiny, cautious, flickering, but there. The prosecutor gritted his teeth but relented. We'll resubmit with analysis. Judge Turner nodded. Court reconvenes in 10 days. She slammed the gavel. Ethan exhaled a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. As the room emptied, he stood. She didn't look at him, not once, not a glance. But as she stepped through her chamber door, just before it closed, she paused. Not turning, but stopping. Just long enough for him to know she remembered. The evidence is coming back. Something is hidden in those files, something that could clear Ethan's name or bury him for good. And Judge Turner, she may be risking more than just courtroom protocol. The courthouse hallway was too bright, too quiet, too clean. Ethan walked out of the courtroom feeling like someone had just yanked him off a cliff, only to set him gently on a ledge. Not safe yet, but not falling anymore. 10 days. They had 10 days to review the forensic evidence. 10 days to prove he didn't steal 63 grand. 10 days to see if Judge Brooke Turner's unexpected intervention meant something or nothing. Mr. Harlow caught up to him, looking shocked, but slightly excited. "I've been doing this job for 15 years, he said, straightening his crooked tie. "And I've never seen a judge order forensic review this early. She must have seen something off in those documents. Or maybe," Ethan muttered before he could stop himself, "she saw something worth believing in." Harlow gave him a weird look. "Don't get hopeful. Judges don't believe in people." Then after a beat, "They believe in rules." Ethan wanted to laugh. He wasn't sure if it was funny or tragic. That night he picked up Lily. She ran into his arms like he'd been gone a year. "Did the judge use the magic hammer?" she asked with big, curious eyes. "Not yet," he smiled softly. "Maybe soon." "You looked scared," she said. "Mrs. Hardy said your face was pale like sour cream." He chuckled. Kids had a brutal way of telling the truth. At bedtime, she handed him a drawing. This one showed him standing tall with a big cape, like a superhero, while a judge with a hammer stood behind him smiling. "She's not scary," Lily whispered confidently. "She looks like she's helping you." He stared at the drawing, helping him. Did she really help him, or was that just courtroom procedure? He didn't know, but deep down he believed it was more. Meanwhile, behind the chamber's door, Judge Brooke Turner stood motionless in her office, staring at the case file. Ethan Carter. She remembered his tired smile in the rain, his freezing hands working on her car battery. The fact that he refused money, even though she suspected he needed it. People fix cars all the time. That wasn't what struck her. It was how he said, "I'm just glad I could help." Not like a decent guy trying to be nice, but like someone who desperately needed to believe kindness still meant something when the world hadn't been kind to him. And that stayed with her. But now, if anyone found out she knew the defendant, even from a random roadside encounter, it could destroy the case. Or worse, destroy her career. She stared at the official documents again, the timestamps, the strange login inconsistencies, the missing source files. Fake. They felt fake. Her instincts weren't just legal, they were human. She had seen truly guilty men before. Their eyes never looked like Ethan's did. She rubbed her temples. This wasn't about breaking rules. This was about something bigger, making sure the truth didn't get buried. 10 days later, the forensic report came back thick, over 200 pages. Harlow practically ran into Ethan's apartment, waving it like a victory flag. "They found tampering," he shouted. "Metadata manipulation, altered logs, and hacked credentials from another IP address, Grant Pierce's home office." Ethan felt his knees weaken. He sat down slowly. "Someone framed me," Harlow nodded. "And we're going to prove it." They would return to court in 24 hours. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep, not from fear this time, but from the strange, unfamiliar feeling of hope. A gentle knock interrupted his thoughts. Mrs. Hardy stood outside holding Lily's backpack. "She fell asleep at my place," she whispered. "Drew something for you, though." He opened the folded page, not a superhero this time, not a judge with a magic hammer. Just 2 words written in crayon, "Don't give up." Tomorrow, the truth walks into court. But in a system built on rules, will truth be enough? And for Judge Turner, how much is she willing to risk for a man she barely knows, yet somehow believes in? The courthouse felt different this time. Less like a doomed chamber, more like possibility. Ethan walked in with a different kind of weight in his chest, not fear, not panic, something lighter, hope, but cautious. Mr. Harlow clutched the forensic file like it was a golden ticket to freedom. "This report is airtight," he said, voice buzzing with excitement. Fake credentials, altered records, IP addresses traced back to Mr. Pierce. This is a slam dunk. Pierce framed me, Ethan murmured, still trying to process it fully. He actually set me up. Oh, he didn't just set you up, Harlow muttered, shaking his head. He buried you and threw the shovel away. But now we've got the shovel. They entered courtroom 3 billion. Judge Brooke Turner sat tall behind the bench. Calm, poised, hard to read, completely unreadable actually. No recognition in her eyes, no emotion, just authority. And yet something softer flickered for half a second when Ethan walked in. The session began. The prosecutor, Mr. Collins, walked up like a kid who just realized he brought crayons to a math exam. He looked rattled. Judge Turner opened the session. "Present your findings." Collins did, but it sounded more like excuses than evidence. He stammered through document logs, data discrepancies, weird inconsistencies. Judge Turner's gaze was razor sharp. "Mr. Collins, are you telling me the original documents never existed?" Collins swallowed, hard. "Yes, Your Honor." "So the prosecution knowingly presented altered evidence?" Silence. "Then, yes, Your Honor." It was like the whole room inhaled at once and didn't breathe out. Judge Turner leaned back slowly. Calm, but there was an intensity in her expression now, a cold, fierce kind of justice. "I do not tolerate manufactured guilt," she said, voice firm, but not loud. The kind of firm that cuts deeper than shouting ever could. Mr. Harlow stood, adjusting his suit dramatically. "Your Honor, I motion to dismiss all charges against my client, Ethan Carter, on the basis of deliberate fraud, malicious fabrication, and—" "Granted," Judge Turner said without hesitation. Ethan's heart stopped. "Mr. Carter," she said, turning to face him directly for the first time since entering. "You are free to go." No speeches, no drama, just truth spoken out loud. It felt like a sunrise inside him. He didn't cry, not yet. But it was close. Harlow patted him so hard it almost broke his shoulder. "Free man, baby, I told you, we had the shovel." Ethan laughed, even though nothing was funny. People started leaving the courtroom, buzzing with whispers. Pierce was going to be facing charges. The courtroom clerk nearly tripped over excitement. But Ethan didn't move. His eyes were still on her. Did she know? Did she remember? She stood and gathered her files, professional, controlled. But just as she turned away, her eyes met his, for a moment too real to be accidental. No smile, no words, just silent acknowledgement, not as judge and defendant, but as strangers on a rainy road. Before Ethan could say anything, her bailiff handed her a case folder and she disappeared into chambers. Gone, like the rain never happened. Outside, Ethan finally called Lily. She didn't say hello. She yelled, "Are you free?" He laughed. Finally feeling it. "I'm free, baby." "I told you," she squealed. "Did the judge use her magic hammer? Did she smack it down like thunder?" He chuckled. "Something like that. Can we eat pancakes and celebrate?" "Yes," he smiled. "We're definitely celebrating with pancakes." For the first time in months, his voice sounded alive. Hopeful, human. Later, inside the judge's chambers, Judge Turner stood alone, exhaling slowly, not because she bent rules, but because she did the right thing, even when it wasn't easy. She looked at Ethan's name one last time, then whispered softly, "You fixed more than a battery that night." Case closed, freedom granted, but some stories don't end in courtrooms. Some begin there, when their paths cross again, this time by choice. What happens when justice meets gratitude and maybe something more? Freedom tasted like diner-style coffee and butter-drenched pancakes. 3 days after the case was dismissed, Ethan sat in a small family restaurant with Lily, watching her drown a waffle in whipped cream like it owed her money. "Dude," she said with serious eyes, "they should make I beat court pancakes, like shaped like gavels or something." Ethan snorted. "Pretty sure they don't do law-themed breakfast foods." They should, she insisted. Bet they'd sell out. He laughed, but there was something inside him, something quiet, reflective, gratitude, but also unfinished business. Yes, he was free. Yes, his name was cleared. Yes, he could finally breathe, but a question lingered. Did she help me because she believed in the evidence? Or did she believe in me? And why did it matter so much to him? He shook it off. He had a job interview that afternoon at a handyman supply store. He could fix anything with a busted battery terminal or duct tape, so hey, might as well get paid for it. Life was turning, slowly. But things were shifting. That afternoon, one more shift happened. At aisle 14 between car batteries and jumper cables. "Excuse me," a voice said, calm and familiar. "Do you know where I might find battery terminals?" He froze, turned. She stood there, not in judge's robes, no bench. No gavel, just Brooke, jeans, light sweater, hair down, calm smile, only this time softer, human. "Funny," he said with a shaky laugh. "Seems to be my specialty." She smiled more this time. "So I've heard." He picked up a small box. Handed it to her, their fingers brushed, not by accident. "You knew," he finally said quietly. "In court, it was you that night, in the rain." She didn't look surprised. "I recognized your name on the case file the moment it landed on my desk." He nodded slowly. Processing, feeling everything and nothing all at once. "Why didn't you say anything?" She hesitated, then spoke, not like a judge, but like a woman being honest. "Because if I did, I'd have to recuse myself," she admitted softly. "And your case would have gone to Judge Patterson." Ethan's stomach dropped. "The one with the insane conviction rate?" She nodded. 95%. He almost never allows forensic audits." Ethan felt a chill. "So you stayed," he said slowly, "even though you weren't supposed to?" "It wasn't the safest choice," she said, "but it was the just one." He swallowed hard. "You risked your career." Brooke smiled softly, something proud, something true. "You risked helping me in the rain," she said. "Sometimes doing the right thing isn't safe, but it matters." He exhaled the breath he didn't know he'd been holding. "So what now?" he asked, voice soft, hopeful. She smiled. This time it wasn't professional. "Coffee," she offered. "You know, somewhere that doesn't smell like motor oil and old tires." He laughed, really laughed for the first time in months. "I know just the place," he said, then paused. "And I know someone who'll call you the Magic Hammer Lady." "Oh," she chuckled, "your daughter?" "Yep," he grinned. "She's very convinced that you're a superhero." Brooke raised a brow. "And what do you think?" He met her eyes. "I think she might be right." A coffee meeting, a second chance, and a 7-year-old with matchmaking energy. As Brooke and Ethan step out of the courtroom and into real life, something new begins. But blending truth, healing, and hope. That takes more than justice. It takes heart. The cafe wasn't fancy. No latte art, no indie jazz playlist, no hipster baristas with ironic mustaches. Just warm lights, cinnamon smell in the air, and mismatched mugs that felt like they had stories. It was perfect. Ethan sat across from Brooke. No judge's robe, no courtroom tension. Just two people trying to figure out why this moment felt like the real beginning of something. "You know," she said, stirring her coffee absently, "when I asked for battery terminals, I kind of hoped it would be you." He smiled. "Yeah," she nodded, "because I didn't get to say something that day." "What's that?" "Thank you for stopping. For helping, for just being the kind of person who helps even when your own life was falling apart." He looked down, voice low. "It didn't feel like kindness. It felt like survival. Like I had to believe people could still do the right thing." She met his eyes, and this time she didn't look away. "That's exactly why it was kindness." For a moment there was no storm, no trial, no past, just 2 cups of coffee and a silent, unexpected peace. They met again 2 days later, this time with Lily. She barreled into the cafe like a caffeine-fueled hummingbird. "Are you the Magic Hammer Lady?" she blurted before she even sat down. Brooke blinked, surprised, then smiled. Depends. Do I look magical? Lily stared intensely, squinted, then nodded. Yep, 100%. You look like you use sparkles when you do law, Ethan face-palmed. Sparkles? Lily shrugged. Law sparkles. Brooke laughed, soft but real. Well, I can't promise sparkles, but I do try to make things right when I can. Lily grinned, then leaned in and whispered, way too loudly to be considered subtle. Daddy likes you. Ethan almost choked on his coffee. Lily, she held up a hand. I'm a kid, I observe things. Brooke, trying not to laugh, sipped her coffee. She's very confident. Oh, you have no idea, Ethan muttered. Lily leaned over the table again. Can I show you something? Brooke nodded. The little girl opened her backpack, pulled out a folded paper, and slid it over. Brooke unfolded it. It was a drawing, 3 people, a man, a woman, a little girl, holding hands. Underneath, in blocky 7-year-old handwriting, good people find each other. Brooke's smile faltered for a moment, not because it wasn't sweet, but because it was too sweet, too true, too close. She looked at Ethan. His eyes weren't just grateful. They were something new, something open, something waiting. She swallowed, touched the drawing gently. Lily didn't notice the moment happening, but she did notice something else. Are you gonna be my dad's girlfriend or what? Oh my gosh. Ethan nearly passed out. Brooke nearly spit out her coffee. The elderly couple in the booth behind them nearly applauded. After a few seconds of stunned silence, Brooke looked at Lily, then at Ethan, then back at Lily. Well, we're going to start with being friends, really good friends, she said kindly. And then boyfriend? Lily asked with way too much confidence. Brooke glanced at Ethan. Ethan, already dying of embarrassment, lifted one shoulder slightly. Brooke smiled. Maybe, she said softly. And somehow that felt like the truest answer in the world. Later, after Lily went to the counter to investigate chocolate chip muffin legality, Brooke turned to him. Ethan, she said quietly, I don't do randomness. I don't do things just because. He nodded, listening. So if I'm here, if I keep showing up, there's a reason. He felt it then, not certainty, but peace, soft, steady, hopeful. I'll show up too, he said quietly, not a promise. But something better. A beginning. A judge with a guarded heart, a father with a healing one, and a tiny tornado named Lily who believes destiny comes with muffins. As their lives slowly thread together, one question rises: when does kindness turn into something deeper? Snow had arrived early that winter, just flurries, but enough to make everything look like a soft, filtered memory. Over the next few weeks, something unspoken but steady grew between Ethan and Brooke. Not romance, not certainty, but something forming. They met for coffee, sometimes with Lily, sometimes without. They took walks, talked about life, about things people don't normally say out loud. Brooke told him she collected old law books not because she needed them, but because she liked how justice used to sound before it became paperwork. Ethan told her he fixed things for a living, but some things, like people, meant to be fixed. Just understood. She told him she trusted facts more than people. He told her sometimes people are facts, you just have to learn how to read them. She stared at him like he'd just said something dangerous, something true. One Saturday morning, Brooke visited the hardware store again, not for batteries this time. Ethan was helping an older customer choose paint when he noticed her at aisle 6, holding a small toolbox. Hesitant, almost nervous, he walked over. You gonna build something, or like sue someone with a wrench? She cracked a smile. Are those the only 2 options? In this store, pretty much. She bit her lip, then handed him the box. Could you help me pick one? He looked confused. Pick what? She motioned to an entire row of toolkits. One that's not just useful, but reliable. He paused, then realized. She wasn't asking about a toolbox, not really. He picked up a medium-sized set, not flashy, not the cheapest, balanced. This one, he said, strong. Doesn't look fancy, but it holds up. The kind of tools people use for real problems, not just home decor projects. She nodded slowly. I'll take it. He looked at her differently then. She wasn't just buying tools. She was choosing to fix things, not because they were broken, but because it mattered. They sat in the store cafe afterward because, yes, even the hardware store had coffee. So, Ethan said, sipping his drink, you're officially equipped to build a spaceship, fix a sink, and tighten battery terminals. She looked at him across the table, eyes softer than he'd ever seen. I didn't buy it for batteries, she said. I bought it because I want to understand things that aren't legal documents. Their eyes locked. Neither spoke for a second. Then she said quietly, people like you. That sentence hung in the air like snowfall. Ethan didn't rush to fill the silence. He let it sit, soft, steady, real. Finally, he nudged a sugar packet toward her. You'd be surprised, he said with a small smile. People like me aren't that complicated. She tilted her head. I think you're wrong. He raised a brow. Yeah, she held his gaze. I think people like you are the most complicated because you fix things even when no one asks you to. He didn't know what to say. For a man who fixed everything, he suddenly felt disarmed. Maybe he didn't need to fix this moment. Maybe it wasn't broken. Just then, like a cosmic joke, Lily crashed into the cafe holding two glitter-covered snow globes. Dad, she yelled, they have magical snow hammers. Brooke blinked. Snow hammers, Lily nodded fiercely. Like snow globes, but instead of glitter, it's destiny. Ethan covered his face. Please don't encourage her destiny hammer thing. Brooke grinned. Oh, I absolutely will encourage it. When Lily walked off to show a stranger her destiny hammer, Brooke looked at Ethan. She believes we don't meet people by accident. He nodded. Yeah, she says that a lot. Brooke's voice softened. She might be right. This time, Ethan didn't look away. He simply said, I hope she is. Feelings are forming quietly, genuinely, like snow that doesn't ask for attention. But when life tests them, with past scars, doubts, and unexpected choices, will this fragile beginning hold? Or melt away? Winter settled in like a quiet visitor, soft, weighted, and staying longer than expected. Life didn't suddenly become perfect for Ethan. Freedom didn't erase fear. Clearing his name didn't fix sleepless nights. Trauma doesn't leave on command. But some days were better. Some days had warmth. And on those days there was Brooke, not as Judge Turner, not as the woman in the rain, just Brooke. One evening they met at the park. Lily ran ahead, tossing snow in the air like she was creating her own weather system. Brooke and Ethan walked slower, their footsteps quiet on the frosted path. You know, Ethan said, hands tucked in his jacket, everyone thinks freedom is loud. Celebrations, laughter, noise, fireworks, but it's not. She looked at him. What is it then? He exhaled, a soft white cloud leaving his lips. It's the first quiet breath you're allowed to take without fear. She didn't speak right away. Then she whispered, I know that feeling. He turned slightly. From what? She hesitated a little too long, then said quietly, almost unsure if she should, there was a time when I almost walked away from the law. Not because I didn't believe in justice, but because I stopped believing justice believed in people. Ethan watched her carefully. You wanted to quit being a judge? She nodded slowly. I didn't want to judge people anymore when I felt like I wasn't seeing them, just files, facts, names I didn't know, lives I didn't understand. His voice softened. But you didn't quit, she sighed. I might have. But then her voice trailed. She looked at him. Something unspoken passed between them, something that wasn't an accident. Meanwhile, Lily found icicles and began auctioning them to strangers. I got premium quality ice wands for princesses, wizards, and attorneys. Attorneys? Brooke chuckled when Lily ran back. Yeah, Lily said assertively. You know, the Snowhammer lady. Brooke tried to hold a straight face. Ethan shook his head. There is no stopping her. Why would you want to? Brooke asked softly. She said it like she meant something else. Later, when they sat on a snowy bench, Brooke finally said the thing she'd been holding. That day in court, when I ordered full forensic review, it wasn't emotion, it wasn't personal bias. She paused, then looked directly at him. It was instinct. Something didn't feel right. Not just about the documents, but about you. He held her gaze, not speaking, not rushing, just listening. She continued. You were calm, not angry, not panicked, just tired. Like someone who had already defended himself long before the courtroom. He nodded slowly, then said quietly, I was tired of being seen as what I wasn't, of being judged before anyone even knew me. Silence held the moment. Not an uncomfortable silence, a real one. She looked at him, and this time her voice wasn't judge-like, it was human. I want to know you, Ethan, beyond what I've seen. He stared at her, wondering if hearts could actually make sound. Maybe his just did. That night after dropping off Lily, he almost said it. The thing he didn't know how to say, you saved more than my case. But he didn't, not yet. Some words need time. Some feelings need space. Some doors should stay slightly open, not rushed or forced, but waiting for when both sides are ready to walk through. Across town, in her quiet apartment filled with old books and coffee mugs, Brooke unfolded a drawing Lily had given her earlier. 3 shapes holding hands, not labeled, not explained, but clear. Underneath, in wobbly letters, some people don't fix problems, they fix people. She smiled at that. But then whispered, he didn't fix me. He just reminded me I wasn't broken. Healing isn't always loud. Sometimes it's shared coffee, quiet laughter, a drawing made in crayon, or a judge learning she's allowed to be more than her robe. But just when things feel steady, life throws a twist neither of them saw coming. The snow melted, and with it came something new. Not spring, not warmth, but change. Soft, hesitant change. Ethan's life slowly stitched itself back together, nothing flashy, nothing viral, just simple wins. He fixed up an old garage behind Mr. Hardy's shop and started taking handyman jobs, real ones. Not just duct tape rescues. Real work, people trusted him again. Trust, wow, that was new. Meanwhile, Brooke started showing up more, sometimes with coffee, sometimes with legal insights for his growing business. Sometimes, just because, she laughed more, she talked softer. She asked him questions no one ever had. Not what do you do, but who were you before life got loud? Those moments felt like healing wrapped in conversation. But life, being life, doesn't let happy moments go uninterrupted forever. Sometimes old damage knocks before new hope can fully unpack. It was a Thursday when everything changed. The evening was calm. Ethan and Brooke sat at his dining table, going through permit forms for his new repair shop. Lily was in the living room inventing an epic musical titled The Magic Hammer Lady versus the Pancake Bandit. Brooke laughed every time Lily yelled, "Emotional damage," at random. It felt right. Real, then the knock, hard, urgent. Ethan opened the door and the past walked in. Grant Pierce, flawless suit, immaculate shoes, eyes colder than courtroom marble. Ethan froze. Brooke stood slowly, her face unreadable but sharp. Pierce gave a tight smile. I'm not here to cause trouble, I just want to talk. Ethan didn't answer. Pierce looked around. You've rebuilt well, impressive. Post-trial redemption looks good on you. Brooke's voice cut clean through the air. Get to the point, Mr. Pierce. He hesitated. And that hesitation, that's what made Ethan nervous. Pierce wasn't here to gloat. He was here because something was wrong. Finally, Pierce let his pride slip just a little. The DA offered me a plea bargain, he muttered, if I cooperate regarding other cases and other fabricated evidence. Ethan stepped forward. You framed other people. Pierce's silence was all the confirmation needed. He sighed. Carter, I didn't come to apologize. I don't expect forgiveness. But you should know your case. It was almost buried if it wasn't for... His eyes shifted to Brooke. Everything paused. She stood still, but something raw flickered in her eyes. Pierce slowly nodded. "You have someone who believed in you before the law even did." He left without another word, leaving silence. Heavy, unsettled, unfinished, Lily broke it. From the hallway, arms crossed, head tilted like a tiny detective. "Was that the bad guy?" Ethan nodded slowly. "Yeah, baby, that was the bad guy," she thought for a moment, then asked, "And why didn't you slam the door in his face?" Ethan knelt down. "Because sometimes closure doesn't look like slamming doors." Lily blinked. "What's closure?" Brooke answered softly. "It means you don't carry it anymore, even if it happened, even if it hurt." Lily considered that seriously, then nodded like she suddenly understood the universe, and went back to writing the Ballad of Justice Pancakes. Later, when Lily was asleep, Ethan and Brooke stood in the doorway. Quiet, no scripts, no courtroom, no titles. Just breath, heartbeats, honesty. He finally said it. "I don't know how to repay what you did for me because I don't think you saved me in court. I think you saved me before that." She looked up, eyes soft, voice even softer. "I didn't save you, Ethan. I just refused to let the world break someone who was never broken to begin with." Silence. Then something quieter than gratitude, something deeper, something beginning. The past is closing, a new beginning is opening. But what happens when healing turns into belonging? When belief becomes love? When the judge and the handyman stop fixing things and start building something together? Spring didn't rush in that year. It took its time, soft, slow, careful, like it understood that some winters don't just fade. Some winters melt, flower by flower, moment by moment, choice by choice. And just like that, life began to bloom again. Not with fireworks, but with quiet laughter at breakfast, with warm coffee instead of cold courtrooms, with drawings on refrigerators, not case files. Things didn't magically fix between Ethan and Brooke. Instead, they naturally built. Coffee shop conversations grew longer. Hardware store visits turned into weekly lunches. Lily began calling her Miss Brooke less and just Brooke more. And one day, while walking home, Lily simply blurted, "Can we keep her?" Brooke nearly tripped on the sidewalk. Ethan nearly dropped the grocery bag. Lily shrugged like it was obvious. "What?" "Sometimes people are family even before they know it." Brooke looked at Ethan. He didn't argue, because fear wasn't living in him anymore. Hope was. It wasn't just romance blooming. It was trust. It was respect. It was Lily hand-making a welcome to our possible future family card and sliding it under Brooke's car windshield. It was Brooke showing up not because she had to, but because she wanted to. Because she wasn't just saving justice anymore. She was saving pieces of herself she forgot existed. One evening, Ethan walked Brooke to her car after dinner. They stood by her red sedan, the same one from the rainy night. The night that changed everything. She traced her hand along the hood where he once leaned over, tightening a battery terminal with tired hands and quiet kindness. "Funny," she said softly. "A broken car started all of this." Ethan nodded. "No," he corrected gently. "A choice started all of this." She looked up, surprised, soft. He continued. "A choice to stop, a choice to help, a choice to believe. A choice to be brave in the courtroom and out of it." She swallowed, emotion settling in her eyes like sunlight. "Ethan!" But before she could say more, he reached into his coat pocket, not kneeling, not giving a speech, not proposing marriage, not yet, just offering something simple, a key to his workshop, to his space, to his beginning. "You once said you wanted to understand things beyond legal documents," he said. "Like people. Like real stories." She looked at the key, then at him. "And this," she whispered. "This," he said softly, "is my way of saying you're part of my story now if you want to be." She didn't cry, she didn't speak. She simply closed his fingers gently around his own key and instead handed him one. To her home, to her space, to her heart. "I want to be," she whispered. That was enough. A week later, they sat on the balcony of Brooke's apartment, drinking tea while Lily proudly presented her latest masterpiece. A stick figure family portrait, 3 stick figures, and a dog. "We don't even have a dog," Ethan laughed. "Not yet," Lily said confidently, "but all good families have dogs. It's like law," Brooke smirked. "Pretty sure that's not how law works," Lily shrugged. "Who's the judge here? Oh, right, you." Even Brooke laughed at that. She didn't correct her. She didn't need to. And sometimes when the world gets heavy, when fear gets loud, when doubts creep in, they remember a rainy night, a roadside choice, a man who stopped to help, a woman who stopped to believe, and a little girl who believed before either of them did. Because not all miracles are dramatic. Some are quiet. Some wear worn-out jackets and fix car batteries. Some carry gavels but wield mercy. Some draw families before they exist and somehow make them real. Cloud because sometimes the stranger you stop for in the storm, yellow heart, becomes the one who helps you find your way home. Every story has an after story. Sometimes with wedding rings, sometimes with career changes, sometimes with a golden retriever named Justice. A year later, the garage behind Mr. Hardy's store had transformed, not into a fancy shop, not into a shiny franchise, but into something better, something real. Carter Repairs and Restoration, we fix what matters, not just cars, not just appliances. Sometimes he fixed hope. People came for broken lawnmowers and left with encouragement. Old furniture got repaired, but sometimes so did faith in people. Word spread, not because of advertising, but because kindness travels quietly, yet fast. And just across town, in a warm brick building with ivy curling around the windows, Judge Brooke Turner had become something more. Not a bigger judge, not more powerful, just deeper. She still used the gavel, but she listened more now before lifting it. She saw stories, not just sentences. She saw humans, not just all caps names on case files. She still believed in the law. But now she also believed in second chances, because she had witnessed what one looked like up close. On Sunday mornings, a little girl named Lily, now 8.5, which is very important, held family meetings on a blanket in the park. Attendance was mandatory. Snacks were required. And topics included memo future dog names, memo pancake flavor experiments, memo and what they were all most grateful for that week. One day, she added something new to the list. "What was the moment you knew we were a real family?" Ethan went first. "It wasn't the judge or the trial. It wasn't freedom. It was the day you handed both of us your drawing and didn't say if, you said when." Brooke went next. "I thought justice lived in courtrooms. Turns out, sometimes it lives at kitchen tables, in toolboxes, and in drawings made with crayons and belief." Lily just shrugged. "I knew before both of you. Grown-ups are kinda slow at seeing obvious things." A fluffy golden retriever now ran around the house, answering poorly to the name Justice, though Lily insisted he preferred to be called Sir Wigglebottom. He did not deny it. They didn't live in a mansion, they didn't have perfect days, but they had something else. Pancake mornings, coffee conversations, snow globe destiny theories, handwritten love, small things, the kind most people overlook, but not them. Because they knew something now, miracles don't always arrive loudly. Sometimes they stand in the rain, asking if you need help. Not every story begins with lightning. Some begin with a broken car, a quiet act of kindness, and a stranger with tired eyes who refuses to keep driving. And sometimes, those stories become homes,